Hey everybody, welcome to Test Chamber. I am Kyle Hilliard. I'm hosting this. We've got Juba.
Hey!
And we're playing Valiant Hearts.
Yes. This is from Ubisoft Montpellier, who's the same... I probably butchered that, by the way.
I think you did it right. I think it was
perfect. The same team that did Child of Light also, I believe. Or the same studio, anyway.
Or the same engine, definitely, for sure.
Right, and it's definitely the Ubi Art framework, which was also used for Child of Light and Rayman. So you can see right away that it has a very distinct, despite using the same engine as those games, it looks very, very different, but still has a very cool sort of stylish 2D art direction. Mm-hmm. And that's what you'll see here too, is that it's not very dialogue heavy. It's all about sort of use like word bubbles and pictures and stuff and mumbles and things like that. That sort of like that's how you convey what you're supposed to be doing.
And this game takes place in World War I.
Yep.
Right?
So it's called Valiant Hearts: The Great War. So it's during World War I, and it's interesting because it doesn't follow the typical approach of like, there are good guys and bad guys in the war or something. Because this guy that we're playing now is named Emile, and he's a French farmer.
Mm. He got drafted, I guess?
Yeah, basically. And he's an old dude. But he got drafted, and you also play as like his daughter's husband, whose name is Carl.
Okay.
And he's like a German immigrant in France. So, and he then gets sort of pulled into the German side of the conflict.
Okay. And this is all stuff you learn like without a lot of dialogue, I guess, huh?
Well, that's the thing, is that that kind of stuff is pretty, what's the right way to say it? Like,
there's a narrator?
It's pretty just straight exposition given to you via narrator between scenes.
Okay.
So you know that stuff, but you don't get a great sense of like character from it necessarily.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's just sort of the basic mechanics of it.
Yeah, I've been curious, like, ever since I've seen this game, they first started showing it looked really interesting, but I didn't understand, like, what the gameplay was, So
yeah.
I'm curious for you to tell us, like, what the game is. Like, what genre does it fall in?
Yeah, I mean, it's really sort of straddles the line between, like, a puzzle game and an adventure game.
Okay.
It really is more about the story and the sort of tone that they're going for. I mean, like, we're talking over it, but, like, Emile here is writing a letter home to his daughter, and the events of the game are sort of I don't think they're literally like taken directly from, but they're inspired by actual letters from, World War I soldiers back to their families and back and forth. So, anyway, so you'll see like there isn't traditional combat in it. It's a lot more of a puzzle game. So like these punks are hassling that guy there, whose name is Freddy. So we can get rid of some of them by blasting them with steam.
Okay. That doesn't look like a dude you'd want to hassle. I'm surprised they're messing with him.
Well, but there are 6 of them.
Okay.
So you can't see this guy stopping me from intervening here.
Okay.
So if I look at this, if I want to steam blast those guys, I follow the pipe, realize the pipe's way up there. So then, and this is actually the way a lot of the puzzles work, is that you walk around, it's like, oh, I want to get someplace, but I can't, and he wants wine.
Okay.
So I'll go over here and quick swipe this guy's wine.
Okay, so it is very much like point and click, kind of, like to a certain degree.
Yeah, except, and this is actually one of my complaints about the game, is it doesn't really get more complicated than what you just saw. Is that like, someone wants a thing, so you go and get them a thing, and then they leave. Or, I think we'll see this again here in a second. And I'll talk about this thing I just picked up in a minute, too.
Okay. We'll come back to that. Look at the postcard.
So this is another thing, like, oh, I can't go up there, but what if... Oh, he wants music. So then I, like, talk to these guys and get them going. Oh, and I did it wrong.
Oh, so you have to figure out the order.
So you talk to them in a particular order, everyone gets dancing, and then he moves. So it's not like... These aren't brain teasers necessarily. You're not sitting here racking your brain trying to figure out how to solve the problem. it's a lot more just about sort of exploring the world and seeing what happens.
Okay, and it looked like you don't really have 3D movement either. Like it's strictly 2D, I guess, right?
Right.
Like you're not moving sort of.
Yep, the whole game. I mean, you've got different planes sometimes. Like there's a near plane and a far plane sometimes, but for the most part, it's just you can do things like throw. There's a lot of throwing stuff at stuff.
Mm-hmm. Throwing stuff at stuff.
But anyway, so that's generally. So like I said, it's one of my complaints in that like. It's not super complicated, but then again, you don't necessarily want, like this. It might dilute the message even more if this game were all about like ridiculous item combinations and stuff like that.
August 21st,
you don't necessarily expect a puzzle game to have some deep progression of abilities that grow and grow as you go. But I don't know. I just felt like I needed a little more challenge and a little more variety in terms of the way you actually go about this stuff.
Yeah, it seems like it's really just like it wants you to learn about the characters and the world and the kind of the progression of the story.
Yeah,
which is admirable, certainly. But
with that being said, I mean, like even though I feel like some of the puzzle stuff kind of drags it down a little bit, you've got scenes like this that are just like, even though gameplay wise it's pretty sparse, conceptually it's interesting. Like it feels very cinematic. I mean, look at this.
Yeah,
we'll see it even more coming up here. Like,
and you're just controlling him, right? Like you're just kind of moving him.
Yep.
Along.
I'm just moving front and back. So then
Okay, then you got stuff to dodge. Then.
Yeah. So it's pretty much this simple. But part of what's interesting about it is like the game doesn't really pull punches when it comes to death. You see some pretty gruesome stuff. Like that.
That was your commanding officer, it looked like. Right?
Yeah. And now, like, we're going to see people just start to get gunned down. And, so, like, it's admirable in the sense that, like, the game really seems to try to convey a good sense of, like, a good sense of the era and sort of the terrible things that, like, people who were on the front had to endure. I mean, look, this is just a pretty... because it's a cartoon, some of the impact isn't quite as gruesome, but it still conveys that sense of like, how hectic it is with all these like bombs and things going off everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's really just super compelling to just even look at,
Yeah, and it's a great game to watch. And that's Carl, who I'd mentioned earlier. He's Emil's son-in-law, essentially.
Was wounded by enemy fire.
So, I mean, it actually, overall, the story is sort of one about, like, love and sacrifice. And that's something that, and ultimately comes off as being a pretty nice tribute to, the people who were fighting in the First World War. And I mean, if nothing else, calling attention to the fact that
behind his bravery,
these people aren't part of just some cohesive national agenda. That these are soldiers. These are just people who are doing what they need to do as part of the army, but they're not necessarily all ideologically aligned.
Yeah, I mean, Emil was French, right, and this guy's American. We're kind of like jumping around.
Right. So, I mean, it gives you a sympathetic look on all sides of the war. I mean, of course, this German commander, Baron von something, is totally hilariously evil, but and this is another example of like
he has a different tool.
Yeah, he has a different tool, but like if his arsenal, apart from that tool, is effectively the same. Like you knock down barriers. You get through them like this. It's not, not that thinky. But another thing that's cool about this is, apart from these like bombs and stuff that you get, this is a game that takes place during a war, and yet like this isn't a shoot 'em up at all. It's very much, it's about exploring and like puzzle solving, and not just about like murdering bad guys.
Do you even fire a gun? I mean, at any point?
I don't believe you do.
Yeah.
I don't remember it. Well, okay, that's not totally true.
But it's not a shooting game. I mean, even if you are,
Right. I mean, there are sections. There is sections where you're in vehicles that have weapons.
Okay.
But in terms of like your normal it's not part of your like normal gameplay vocabulary. You know, you're not. It's not something you're doing regularly. A lot more, it's like picking things up and throwing them and waiting for people to not be firing machine guns at you.
And giving wine glasses to officers and starting bands.
Yeah. So stuff like that. And it is cool too in the way that like it jumps around between characters. So we started with Emil, now we're playing as Lucky Freddy.
So is Emil's thread over? Was it that quick?
No,
okay,
no,
so you revisit him.
There are 4 chapters in the game. Knock him out. There are 4 chapters in the game, and each one sort of shuttles around among different characters. So it's not just like there is the Freddy chapter and there is the Emil chapter.
Gotcha, okay. So you're kind of jumping around these concurrent stories.
Yeah, they all get a little bit of play. So, now we'll drop the plunger. And again, things like this just visually make this game so much fun to watch. I kind of almost wish that it had been an animated movie.
Yeah.
Because of how well it does sort of convey, like, even though I don't know for sure that I love the way all of the like character development and storytelling is handled, but it definitely just gets it sets a great tone. Mm-hmm. It has a great atmosphere to it. And that's something that's hard to get right.
You're aiming for that dynamite down there? Is that?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. Thanks, Kyle.
Oh, you're welcome.
There we go. There we go. All right. And throwing that up there. So what we don't have yet is the dog, which is another big part of this. There are 4 playable characters, and then a dog. That the characters sort of share. That he sort of helps each of them out at different points. Mm-hmm. And actually, I was just thinking. I think when this game was first announced, it was announced with 5 playable characters and a dog. And one of them ended up not being in the final version of the game.
Really? Okay.
Like, if you look at the original reveal trailer, it's the 4 characters who are there, and then also like a fighter pilot named George, who was was part of the initial plan. But
okay, so he just got cut at some point through development. I guess.
Yeah. So I don't know if you were super looking forward to that character, he's not here. But the dog is interesting. I don't remember when exactly you get him. But
so the dog like travels with you? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the dog sort of goes from character to character. So like he might be with Freddy for one sequence, but then I don't know, like Freddy and Emil may cross paths, and then the dog ends up being with Emil for the next sequence or something like that. So
he's is he like he ties everyone together to a certain degree?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. But each character uses the dog in the same way, which is, there are things that are out of reach. Whoops. Oh, good. So yeah, there are things that are out of reach that the dog can then go and get and pull for you and stuff.
Okay.
So here's an example. Yeah, I mean, like you distract guards and stuff so you can get by them and stuff like that. Cool. So that gives a good taste of what the sort of like general puzzle solving and stuff is all about. I want to show you one of my favorite parts of the game, and for that we're gonna have to jump to a different section.
All right, let's check it out.
So what we're doing here is this is just a good example of the way the sort of visuals and the music for this game come together, because the presentation is just overall really good. And we're seeing an example of how all these obstacles that I'm dodging are sort of popping out in time to the music.
Oh, I didn't even notice that until you said something. Yeah, okay.
And well, it's because I'm talking like a big dope over it all. But whoa,
all right. Dude wanted to hang around for a while.
So yeah, it's got the can going.
Okay. It's like that one level of The Lion King on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
You actually know what I'm talking about, or you just agree?
Yeah, no, it's the I just can't wait to be king level, right?
It's the level where the gazelles are like running after you through the canyon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, maybe I'm thinking of a different one. But
cool.
anyway, so
this is cool. This is like
you know,
much different from what we were just seeing a little while ago.
Yeah, and there aren't a ton of these sequences in here, but it's just an example of like some of the creativity of the team and the way that they really sort of use this presentation to their advantage. Again, like this stuff isn't super challenging, but it's still a cool, it's a cool section.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, this is cool. It looks like there's some diverse stuff happening here, and an interesting story, and I mean, obviously the visuals are fantastic. So, so is our reviews online? Right? What'd you give the game?
Our reviews on right now. I gave it a 7.
Okay.
There we go. Which is kind of tricky with it, just because it's like the presentation and the story and the presentation and the tone is so good. And yet, the gameplay just is so underwhelming for me anyway that it's sort of the 7 sort of represents a middle ground rather than the whole game sort of overall being average, you know. So, and this is the other character who's Anna, who's a medic, and a lot of her stuff is like rhythm mini game focused.
Interesting. Okay.
So anyway, so review is up. It got a 7. It is available on Xbox One and Xbox 360 and PS4 and PS3 and PC, and it's $15.
All right. Well, thanks for the look, Joe. There you go, everybody.
Yeah.
Valiant Hearts.